From glass brick windows to electric blue walls, this is not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or a museum. It's 39-year-old Lacey Faye's family home. It's not unusual for someone to collect vintage items, but Lacey uses them every day, fully adopting the daily life of a woman in 1955.
Our house was built in 1953, and luckily it's remained basically the same.
Lacey has been transforming her home into a mid-century time capsule for the last 6 years. With a house full of 50s furnishing and retro appliances, from rotary phones and reproduction record players to her 1955 Kelvinator stove and the 1949 cold spot fridge that she defrosts by hand. She even has an old school box set for a family to watch their shows.
It turns
and prepares vintage recipes like World War II ration cakes using old school ingredients and gadgets from the past, like her Vegomatic and 1955 cookie press. A vintage life that makes Lacey feel at home.
This is how I feel the most like myself and the most kind of beautiful. This is me.
Lacey Faye joins us now from her home in Utah. Lacey, if nothing else, I just enjoy your commitment to this. You are truly dedicated to this.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I found what I love, and I'm ready to embrace that, I guess.
Oh, you've gone past embracing. I mean, from top to bottom, you're in. I know that your grandmother was a great inspiration regarding your affection for this era. Your grandmother recently passed away, and my thoughts are with you and your family. What did she teach you, or I guess reveal to you about the 50s that just made a connection in your heart and the way you would want to live?
All of her stories, all of the things that she talks about being young is it seemed like the most fun time of her life. Her and my grandfather would go cruising in their Corvette and go to the dances, and it just seems like the most fun time to be alive to me.
What made you decide to go from, the clothing, which is beautiful, some of the best dresses and most flattering clothing, I think, in many ways for women from the 50s, to the kitchen, to every part of your home that we see behind you?
Well, I love every aspect of the design of the era, especially kind of the mid-century atomic space agey things. The aesthetic of it just really appeals to me. And so as soon as I could acquire a vintage home, I wanted to furnish it as authentically to the time as I could, because those things, I love the way it looks.
Where do you get most of your things, especially the appliances? I know a lot of the vintage, wall art, even the table and chairs. The appliances are the trickiest thing. Where do you get that from?
They are, and we've been very lucky to find everything, nearly everything is thrifted in my home.
Oh.
So even the appliances I found on a local classified website, Facebook Marketplace, things like that. And my stove especially was a really cool find, because it was before I had bought this house. I was taking my son to school, and I saw that stove sitting in someone's driveway on the street on the way to take my son to school. So I hurried and pulled over. I left a note on it with my name and phone number, and they called me and sold me the stove.
Well, that was very 1950s of you to leave the note to call. Somebody in 2021 would have just stolen that right off the side of the street. It's interesting to the values. I'm sure you're aware that people assume women in the 50s were subjugated, or there's always this meme about the 1950s housewife. You take issue with that and really want people to understand that your perception of a woman's life at that time was not one of subjugation or second tier.
I think it's a time of empowerment. Women were used to, during the war, working outside of the home, and now they were able to come back inside the home, and it kind of was their domain, I guess. They were the queens of the castle, and doing what you love, no matter what that might be, whether it is working outside the home or staying home and working inside the home. Either way, I think empowering women is the most important thing.
I just have to say, I admire your hair, the clothes, all of it. I need to unpack some of these fashions, but your husband, you've been married 20 years, your son is 16. Do they
Yes.
live their life the same way?
My husband does quite enjoy vintage style as well. Though his job is such that he can't really wear it to work for fear of ruining things. But my son, he's pretty modern.
Does he have video games? Like, is he a regular 16-year-old?
Yes, for sure.
What does he think of your style and does he get the 1950s?
Yeah, he does, especially the cars.
Well,
He's
yeah,
all about the vehicles of the 50s.
smart kid.
Yeah, right? But as far as our lifestyle goes, I mean, I've been dressing this way, living this way for about half of his life. And so for him, this is just the way we are. Like, this
Mm.
is normal.
And this is mom.
This is our family style.
Right. So you run a movie theater. Are you into 1950s cinema?
Oh, yes, I do love a good classic film for sure.
What's your favorite?
Oh, it's so hard to choose, but I do love Audrey Hepburn and I do love Marilyn Monroe. So probably those are the top two.
Top
I
two.
would say probably Gentlemen Prefer Blondes for Marilyn and Roman Holiday for Audrey.
Roman Holiday, one of my favorites. Let me ask you though, the fashions. You collect a lot of vintage fashion, but you don't see it as collecting vintage clothes. How do you describe it?
Uh, well, I like to think of it as giving these special things a new life, giving them another chance to shine, I guess. And so I don't know, almost like saving them,
Yeah.
keeping them alive.
Well, people underestimate. I went through a phase where I was collecting vintage dresses, and the sizing is very different. It is very tricky. So you have to be dedicated to it. Do you store these things for preservation?
Yeah, some of them I do. I do have some like vintage gowns and things like that I mean, it's just not things that you wear on a daily basis, but it is things that I feel like are worth saving and preserving them, just to have as a collectible piece, really.
Listen, there is an elegance to the style then versus some of the things that we enjoy for comfortability that we wear now. Do you watch any modern shows other than the Tamron Hall show? Wink, wink. Do you watch any modern shows?
Yeah, I do. I do watch modern shows. However, I do find myself gravitating towards modern shows that are period pieces.
Okay. Well, I have a suggestion for you. WandaVision. Make sure
Yes, I love it.
you love WandaVision. The whole
Yes.
time I'm looking at you, my team said that's WandaVision. Well, I just think it's phenomenal to see this glimpse in your life, and you're committed to this. No turning back or going up to 2021.
No, I feel this is the way I feel at home. This is the way I feel the most beautiful, the most like myself. So I don't see that changing. I know style evolves and people change
Yeah.
over time, and if that happens, then okay. But I mean, I feel like this is me.